Good to go.
We'll call the monthly meeting of the Highway Solid Waste Committee meeting to order. It's June 4th, 2020 at 7 a.m. Roll call, let the record show that all members are present. The meeting has been properly noticed, and I'm going to ask for an adoption of the agenda and approval of the minutes from May 7th, 2020.
I'd move to adopt the agenda and approve the minutes as published.
Motion's been made by Tom Rumden, seconded by John Massler. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 5 on the agenda is a public comment. There is nobody here for public comment. And item number 6 is elect a vice chairman for the committee with possible action. I've asked Tom Rumden to be vice chair. He has served in the past. So do I have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion.
Motion's been made by Joe Lucas, second by Aaron Augustine. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We have reports. Mary, are you doing reports?
I have
I'm
not.
doing it.
Todd's gonna be doing the reports. I have nothing for our financials because we just finished our closing.
Okay. Is the report, Todd, for fishing or for highway?
Well, it depends which one you want.
Go ahead, Todd.
Okay. Jesse sent me an email with his report on it. As far as activities are going and work is concerned, we did have a pulverizing completed on our county highways. That would be County Highway U, County Highway F, as in Frank, and County Highway B. And then a couple of towns, the town of Anapee and the town of Luxembourg, also had a short stretches of town roads pulverized that we shaped up and rolled with the pulverizer out within the county. We completed paving the Algoma shop parking lot. It turned out really well. If you've had a chance to go by there, looks a lot different than what it did before. We replaced the pavement. We completed paving most, I think all of the patches, culvert patches that were either complete culverts were completed this spring or patches that were left over the winter time. So those are completed. We have started center lining with yellow paint in the county when we have enough staff and we're not doing other activities. We're able to substitute in some center lining. We're doing culvert replacements on the county, state, and town roads. We just recently completed a large culvert replacement on State Highway 42 on Tuesday. And then I believe that there's going to be another one. I don't know, Mary, maybe you can help me with this, if they did the second one on Wednesday?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Well, I guess that's right. Today is only Thursday. But there was 2 pipes that failed across State Highway 42 that were going to need to be completed, which were supposed to be replaced with the culvert replacement project on the state, and the state was going to be doing later this summer, but they were bad enough when they inspected them last week that we needed to do them on an emergency basis for the state. They were, at least the one on Tuesday, and that was near Washington Road and 42. We were able to replace the culvert in one day and get the highway paved again and back open. We've also started paving on County Highway AB. That would be the top mat or surface mat installation from County Highway AB going north to Sleepy Hollow Road. One of the larger projects we had scheduled for this year in the paving program. We've been doing grading and hauling gravel on town roads. We've been fixing a couple of catch basins that were came apart or cracked or damaged. We're almost complete with sweeping the curbing, the sand that gathers there throughout the course of the winter. Just about done with that. We've had our excavator all last week up in Door County. Maybe you saw some of the news stories on the TV or heard it on the radio that there's some town roads washing away on the both sides of the peninsula. And Door County does not have a large excavator like ours, so they asked us to come up and help them with a couple of projects, placing riprap and other materials to rebuild those sides of the roads. And they spent all last week up there, and I believe that they do have another week's worth of work doing that at some point when we can fit it in. And then lastly, we've completed some shouldering on county highways that were really in need of adding some shoulder gravel. And that would be the end of Jesse's report.
Thank you, Todd. Any questions on Jesse's report?
I'll add one thing that he didn't have on here. Jesse was over in a meeting with one of the supervisors in the town of Scott yesterday. The town of Scott has hired us to do the ditch mowing in their town, and also doing some other paving projects over there if we can fit them in. So Jesse was over there looking at them and doing some measurements and providing them an estimate for doing some short paving stretches. That's it.
Any questions on Todd's report?
Did you say town of Scott?
I did.
Is
Town of Scott.
Is that Brown County?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I
So,
didn't know we hired
Scott-
out to other counties.
We do work in several townships that are outside of our county. We do some centerline painting in townships in like northern Manitowoc County. We will go and work for other counties also if needed. And late last fall, I'm going to say, the town of Scott contacted us in regards to center lining. And they wanted us to give them an estimate on doing some of that over there. Brown County stopped doing work, or I'm going to say small work, for some of the townships in Brown County. And when that happened, they contacted us, particularly for center lining, because we could handle the work, and Brown County said they didn't want it. So we said, sure, if we can fit it in our schedule. And then as that developed, then the town asked us if we would be interested in doing any other work. And we said, it depends on what it is and how we can fit it in. So we've been working with them, the town of Scott, that is, in order to help them out with some of their projects.
Okay. Thank you, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Todd, Joe Lucas here. I got a question. When that deal with Act 10 came up, I know counties couldn't do work in between each other. How does that work out?
With Act 10, that if we can't go into other counties and bid on work that's going on there. We can work with the county, or if the county has refused that, we haven't had any issues with that, Joe. So Act 10 really hasn't come into play that way.
Okay, I know years ago we used to do pulverizing with, I think it was at Outagamie, and then we had to quit doing that. So I thought that had something to do with it.
That has never come up as an issue with the projects that we're doing. If we have the capabilities to be able to do that, excuse me, I think you can drink water. I think there was a certain funding level for those, Joe, and I think that also had to do with using state and federal funds also of being able to do that work. So I can check into that a little bit more to get clarification, but we haven't had any issues up to this point with Act 10 in particular.
Oh, that's fine. I thought that was a good idea that we could do that, and then I know some of that had to stop, so.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, Todd, do you have a report?
Mary, did you want to talk about the audit and the next meeting?
Yeah, our next meeting that's scheduled for July 9th at 7 a.m., we will be having CLA Connect, which is formerly Shank, who did the audit on our 2019 financials. They will be presenting that day, and I will have my financial budget report for the roads and bridges budget as well for May at that time and possibly June.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Mary. Any questions for Mary? Very good. So that's your report, Todd? Are you done?
I just have a couple of other things to mention on my end of things. Just wanted to follow up with the last meeting and the county board approval with the backhoe loader. The John Deere has been ordered. I think the expectation was 90 to 120 days based upon their initial bid. We've most of our summer help has started, so our limited term summer help, we have 5 that are on staff are going to be starting on Monday, and then we have one more that we have an offer to for basically college-age kids to help us out and do different activities for us. And most of everything else I have to discuss are the items on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Todd. We will move on to item number 8, discussion of the County C Reconstruction project and engineering design firm selection process. You want to talk a little bit about that, Todd?
Sure. So in your packet, there's a background information in regards to this project. Last year, middle of the year, I submitted a reconstruction project into the STP Rural project. That program going through the state is funds projects that are approved 80% federal and state funds and then 20% local funds. We were approved for a project in the 20 to 25 program. The project is County Highway C, reconstruction of County Highway C from basically Highway 29 to County Highway L. And the project is scheduled for design to take place in fiscal year 2021, and then a construction let date of 1/9 of 24, which means the 2024 construction will happen. I'm not going to read through the whole second paragraph of the summary, but that's basically the items that we'll be looking at during the design to complete out on the project. The gist of the project is we wanted to pulverize and pave 4 inches of new pavement out there. But there is some other activities that we'd like to look at while we have the design process going on. If there's any guardrail updates that need to be done, the approaches to the bridge will be completed. Also, the intersection of County Highway C and F right outside the main shop there needs a lot of work, especially in the stormwater area. So there'll probably be placement of curb and gutter and stormwater in that intersection in order to capture the water and not create some hazards on the road. There's also 2 box culverts that in between Grandview Lane and County Highway Double F that take water off of the hill on the east side, moving it towards the Kewaunee River. And those are very short to begin with, and those need to be upgraded also. So all of those things will be investigated and looked at during the design process in order to see what improvements we can do there. It's anticipated that potentially the project will have either some small land acquisition or easements that will be needed to do the project, but we'll not know that until we have the most of the design complete. The estimated cost of the project during the application period ended up to be just under $3 million, $2,977,000 for the total project cost. And if you split that out 80% and 20%, you can see the numbers there. So about $2.3 million worth of funding from the federal funding and about $600,000 of Kewaunee County funding. I do have this project placed into the 5-year plan, and as that moves through and gets closer to construction and we have better estimates as to what the costs are going to be for the project, then I will adjust that 5-year plan estimated cost appropriately. So the next step in the process that we need as a county to do is we need to select a design engineer for the project. And there's a certain process that has to take place with federal funding. And what I'm looking for is at least 2 members of the committee to participate in the evaluation of the information that we get from the design firms, their qualifications, their statements, their and other information from the firms that we would need to evaluate and select a firm that we want to work with on the project. Since the committee just changed and we're relatively new, I didn't know if the committee as a whole wanted to review the information from the firms and make a collective decision, or if we wanted to have it's called a subcommittee, for lack of a better term, or an ad hoc committee to review the information from the firms and then bring that information back to the committee for approval. We do have to have a approval from the committee in order to document that in the minutes and with certain forms going back to the state to be in the file. So I know, Gary, you've participated in this process in the past, both for county and town bridges. It's basically the same process as that. So looking for either a discussion about whether the whole committee wants to participate in this, and that's certainly no problem, or if you want to delegate to a ad hoc committee to come back with that information.
Okay, now receiving that information, do you want to try to do this as a committee? Are you interested in doing that, or would you prefer just picking, I've volunteered to be on that spot. If somebody else wants to come in, it's fine. It may be good as a committee to learn the process. It's fine with me. We don't have any dates set up for this yet, Todd, do we?
We do not.
Okay.
On my schedule when I get back from vacation here to send out the notice to the design firms in order to get the information. The process will probably take, when we have the information in front of us, whoever is going to be doing it, a couple of hours.
Okay. It kind of looks like everybody's nodding their head. They're interested in participating in this process. So maybe we'll need to set up a special meeting to do that review and recommendation.
I think that's great. I don't know if I'll have the information back by the time that we get to the July meeting. I think maybe it'll probably be between the July meeting and the August meeting to give the firms enough time to put their information together. But I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thanks. We'll work on that. And then Todd, if you remember, I had spoke to you about our process on the shop replacement and having some type of a meeting regarding that, and maybe we can include both of those into that one special meeting and just make it a little longer.
Okay, and we can look to do that.
Okay, thanks. We'll think about that, and when we get some dates here, we'll discuss them. Thank you. Okay.
That's all I have on that project, unless anybody has any questions about the project in particular or the funding mechanism.
One question for you, Todd. What are you going to do with County C at the Anapee Trail? Are you going to try and straighten that thing out?
I have it in the to look at during the design to see if there's anything that can be done there to improve the geometrics of that intersection. It's been always, obviously, you travel that road a lot, we all do, and we see how narrow it gets there. So hopefully during the design process, we can identify some type of improvement there at that crossing.
Okay, yeah, that's because, that gets kind of hairy, especially if you get a wide vehicle coming through there and two guys meet on that at that intersection. And especially on the shoulder, I noticed it, and I mentioned it once before at a meeting, but that I worry that shoulder is right next to the river there. It seems as if that shoulder is punching out.
I'm making a note of that right now to make sure that we have that as a item to discuss during the design process.
Right.
One thing we know that's not going to move is the trail right of way. It's not going to move. There's a few more hoops to jump to when, even though it's state land, technically, the railroad still has quite a bit of control over that trail. So there's a few more paperwork nightmares to be able to do improvements around the trail. But that's what we pay the design firm for in order to navigate that paperwork. So hopefully there's something that can be done where, maybe moving it to the east a little ways to improve things, or, whatever it might be. That's a good item of discussion for that road.
Okay.
Any other questions for Todd on this subject? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 9, which is the bridge age resolution for Willow Road, Town of Anapee, with possible action. This is basically a bridge that's going to be replaced next year, and so the funding has been put in the budget, I believe, and so I'm going to ask for an approval by the committee to approve the bridge aid petition and send it on to County Board.
So move.
Motion's been made by John Massler, seconded by Tom Rumden. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. There's a petition right here. We've got 2 copies here. One goes to Mary and one will go to town records. Yeah, please. I'll give them to you, Mary. I'll sign them.
Okay.
Got another form in here.
That's Todd's steps of completing.
Reminder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ain't it something else? You can launch boats out of the parking lot. No,
Is
that's
this
live.
project like
That is live.
next year project too
That
then?
supplies the whole
Okay,
north of
'cause
town.
that's when
There's
ours
a
is.
cable comes across the river right to that box.
Never know.
I had heard,
Financial situation.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure the wiring is, but I had heard that the city's talking to Jaden about building a dike around the whole thing. That's what I had heard, so. And actually, they did that on the east side of the bridge at the marina. They built a dike there and then they put pumps in and to keep it dry. It worked in the Netherlands, why shouldn't it work here? You just gotta adapt to it.
Okay, item number 10 on the agenda is discuss the right-of-way at County ABK intersection, the famous Frog Station.
Oh, they're not gonna take, you're not gonna take.
I think you guys have some information in your packet regarding this. We were approached, I should say Todd was approached to consider if we were interested in the right-of-way for a vision point there. And basically what that meant is, from my understanding, that if we removed the tavern, the property would be given to the county. So we are actually, at this point, weighing whether the advantage would be for us to do this, because there's been a value put on that property. I think it was, approximately $2,200. And if it costs us more than $2,200 to haul the building away, well, is it really a value to us? So we are looking at different options on this, and we wanted to bring this forward so you understood that this could take place. I think Todd is working with Jeff Wisniewski on this project. Todd, have I explained this pretty good?
Yeah, I'm going to add a few more things. Yeah, Jeff Wisniewski received the email or a phone call from somebody representing the landowner or the estate of the landowner, and was wondering if we were interested in that. I would say that I'm interested in it to a certain point. And we didn't have much more discussion than that. I just wanted to give you some information about where it is, what it looks like, what the rest of the intersection looks like from that standpoint. I think it's worth investigating to see what the true costs would be to each party in regards to moving ahead with getting that right away to establish the mission corner. If it's not cost prohibitive, then I don't think that we should move ahead with it. But there is some value there that I think we should pursue. And I'm just looking for the committee's approval to move ahead with pursuing something and investigate what the costs would be on each side, and if there was any type of agreement, bring that back to the committee for discussion.
Any questions on this project?
Well, I don't think you're going to remove that building for $2,200. It's going to cost,
12 to 15,000.
yeah, quite a bit more than that.
Yeah, they understood. And I'm just putting this $2,200 as to what, if we were to go out and buy that type of land, that right now that's a ballpark figure as to what that would be. As Jeff pointed out, him and I were having a discussion about this, is that there's lots of different things to discuss as to how this could be accomplished. And that's basically what we're looking to do, to see if there's a way to negotiate something with the landowner or their estate or however it came down to after the owner passed away, to see what could happen. I'm not just saying we're going straight in and paying for everything and we get the right of way or anything else like that, but just the option to pursue options.
Another question I go through there not that often, but is it a vision? Is that building an obstacle for vision right now?
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, it is. I'm just assuming that when the county highway AB was rebuilt with those plans, and I believe the plans were dated in the 80s when I looked that up, that there was no selling that bar or doing anything with that quadrant of the intersection when the design was taking place. From where the stop sign is located, and if you pull up to the stop sign, there's definitely an obstruction to the view looking to the south. You do have to pull out I'm not saying into the highway, but further into the intersection there to get a good view looking south.
I have a question, Todd, Aaron here. Does the county hold any liability if there's a car accident there? You know, if something happens, does the county hold any liability because of the right of way or you can't see? Is there any county responsibility right now?
No, because that's private land on the corner there. So you're asking if because that obstruction is there, and the county didn't do something about it, you're asking whether or not there's liability there. That's the correct question?
Correct. And if this is an opportunity for us to take that liability away, then it's something to look at, but it doesn't sound like there is a liability.
I don't think there's any more liability than any other intersection. It would just be the public good, if it was in our best interest and financially, prohibitive, not prohibitive, but financially reasonable to do that. We just, increase the vision at that and make that the intersection safer than it is now. Now you can, there's other intersections, town, county, state, not so much the state, but that would have less vision than that. But with the speed of the traffic that's on County Highway AB, you'd want to improve it as best you can.
And we're basically talking just the right-of-way vision site right-of-way. There's actually a lot behind that could become a possible building site. So just so we understand that we are only talking the vision right-of-way here.
Yeah, so we don't have any idea right now what the intentions are with that rest of the land or anything else like that. And that's what we would find out during the investigation process.
I think we should investigate, at least spend a little time to see what the family or the attorney is willing to offer. I think it's something we should look into.
Any other questions or suggestions on this project? Okay. Item number 11, I kind of talked a little bit about this. Todd and I sat down and discussed where we were going with this project and how we were going to go with it. And our first idea was to basically look at the plan, possibly break it down into separate items and have a discussion on that. So we are kind of trying to set up a meeting. So maybe this will work with that special meeting and combine it and make a decision on how we want to move forward and or if we want to move forward. So we will set that up as a special meeting.
So, Gary, speaking of what Norman and Barrientos Design would bring at that time, we were talking about having the committee have a summary again of what the full study was that we received earlier this year, and then talking to him about breaking those items out into, for lack of a better term, separate projects or critical projects versus other portions of the plan to see what the cost of those would be. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And Norman is basically waiting for a call back from me to have that meeting and schedule that meeting with the committee so that we can do that because he had that as a portion on his contract from the previous project. So that will be no problem getting him there to do that, and then we can talk to him about what a future phase of investigation could look like.
Any questions on that?
I think timing, I would say that it could be late July, August sometime if things fall together. And again, another thing that Gary and I discussed when we were talking about this project is we're not trying to move this project along quickly or anything else like that. We're just trying to gather the information we can to be prepared and plan, for the potential improvements over the course of time and see what those things cost. I think our discussion that we had at our first committee meeting, the committee members made a lot of good points in regards to, there's other things going on in the county, there's things going on in the economy that, could be, they're definitely going to, prohibit, a lot of things financially within the counties, towns, and villages. But we still need to keep planning for something because we do definitely have the needs.
Todd, me and Aaron are new on the committee, and I've been down to the shop several times over the years, but never really went through it. Would it be possible maybe at the next committee meeting to go through the buildings down there?
Absolutely. That's a great idea. And the plan is by that time we should be able to meet with down in our shop like we normally do, and certainly we can schedule some time in that. Either as an agenda item, it's up to Gary, if he thinks it needs to be an agenda item, or just if we want to walk through it after it's, after the meeting. Doesn't matter to me either way.
Yeah, kind of give us a better understanding of everything down there.
We will put that on our next agenda. We'll probably put it at the end of our agenda so that we can take our time and go through it and take a good look at it. Good idea.
Yep.
And then what I'll do is I'll just put that number 11. I always keep that project or that agenda item on the agenda. I'll just put it at the end of the meeting and indicate that we're going to take a tour.
Perfect. Thank you. Item number 12 is travel requests, and I know that we had asked anybody interested in going to the summer road school have their paperwork in. Mary, have you gotten? I know I sent mine in. Is everybody or anybody that's interested in going turn their paperwork in?
I have 2 committee members that turned it in. The other 3 have not told me if they're going or not.
Okay. I know it's kind of a time of the year thing here, but it just happened that it got pushed way back because of the COVID-19. So, okay, good. Thank you. Any other travel requests, Todd?
There are none as far as I know.
Okay. Any other business to be discussed today?
I sent both yourself and Todd an email in regards to the shooting park area and I was approached by Maynard Keel about the possibility of doing something with that road. And I know that Todd said that he was going to talk to an engineer when he got back, and hopefully meet with somebody to see what could be done. Maynard and I talked on Saturday, and Maynard asked if he could be included when you meet with the engineer. And I told him I'd just forward that to Todd and make Todd aware of it. And I, I'm sure that, I don't know what you can do with that road. That's anybody's guess. That's a lot of water. If you raise it to hold that water back, it's a lot of water.
Right.
Will that bridge be capable of holding that much water? I can't say. You really need to talk to an engineer, and because that was the idea of it, to allow that water to come over the road.
Correct. That was my understanding, is it was designed to be a pressure relief there to
Yep.
let water flow through in emergencies. It's been flowing through there forever.
Yeah,
And now worse because of the high water, but
sure.
so yeah.
I do have, Gary, I do, and the committee, I do have a meeting scheduled with one of the engineers we commonly work with on the Wednesday of next week. I'm going to meet with him. I'm not going to involve Maynard at that time, but if as we move forward, we can certainly talk to Maynard and see what his concerns are. I know that he's got land adjacent to, all around there, and even next to the right of way and stuff like that. So we will certainly keep him involved. I've had several comments in regards to that that area down there, and not, as John indicated, this not only the highway and that leading up to the bridge, but it's also the bridge. And that bridge has some work that needs to be done that's out like 2-3 years, and as far as its deck and things like that. So it's kind of a good time to take a look at everything to see what we can do there to improve the situation. We also do know that we got to take a look at the shoulders and the slopes of the road on either side that are actually underwater right now, because there's definitely some saturation that's taking place with the water being so high, and we're going to have to really investigate that if and when the water goes down.
Okay, thanks. Just keep us informed on what's happening with that, and we'll talk about it.
Right.
We have July 9th at 7 p.m. scheduled right now, and hopefully we can do that probably at the highway shop. We'll see how things work out. Do we want to try to set an August meeting?
Bringing the calendar
We
here.
have the 6th or the 13th. Are both of those open to anybody, or?
They're both good for me.
Good for me.
6th rather than 13th, but I could do the 13th.
Okay, yeah, I would too.
I'm not available, Gary, on the 6th. And the 13th would be when we come back from the Summer Highway Conference. It would be the next day after the conference ends, but that's not a problem.
Yeah, correct. Or is there a better day than that Thursday? I guess if we do it early in the morning, it doesn't make much difference.
My suggestion would be to do the 13th, because just in case we need something for county board. I'm not anticipating anything right now, but just in case, would that be Tuesday the 18th is county board?
That is correct.
So why don't we keep it on if the 13th works, can we do that?
Is that workable with everybody if we do it at 7? Okay, it appears that that's going to work. So let's set it for right now at the 13th. I guess we can talk about it at our next meeting, but it looks like this will work.
Okay.
If that's everything we have to do, then I would ask for somebody to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made by Aaron,
Second.
seconded by Joe. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We're adjourned.